In Minnesota, you can get robbed by a 9-year-old wearing a court-ordered ankle monitor, get confronted for running him off by a Somalian sex offender who happens to be hanging out at a public park, and then you can get found guilty of disorderly conduct just for using a word that the two of them decided was only for them to use. That's what happened to Shiloh Hendrix. Shiloh is a mother from Rochester, Minnesota. She took her child to a public park, just minding her own business, when this 9-year-old, who's a known serial kleptomaniac in the area, known to be wandering around and always getting lost because his father can never keep an eye on him, hence the court-ordered ankle monitor, broke into her diaper bag and tried to steal things out of it. So Shiloh confronts the kid, takes the stuff back from him, and remember, she doesn't contact the kid or hurt him in any way. Not even the prosecutors have alleged that there was anything criminal that happened there. It was a confrontation. The only problem is, she calls the kid a mean name that black people have decided only they are allowed to use. This commotion caught the attention of Sharmaik Omar, a Somalian sex offender who happened to be hanging out in the general vicinity of the children's playground. No idea why. Nice going, Minnesota. Sharmaik had recently been involved in the kidnapping and sexual assault of a 16-year-old girl, but he was still out in the streets because prosecutors let him off the hook for a reason that they did not specify. And thank goodness, because otherwise we would have never known that Shiloh used a mean word against this 9-year-old kid. So Sharmaik decided to pull out his phone and approach Shiloh and get in her face and confront her and say, "How dare you? I heard you use a racial slur. I heard you use the N-word against this boy. I dare you to say it again. I dare you." And he's challenging her. He's trying to get her to repeat it on camera. And so Shiloh turns back to face this guy, and she doesn't touch him at all. She doesn't commit assault or battery or harassment. She just repeats it, and she calls him the N-word as well. And she kind of taunts him, just verbally, and then walks away. And he's furious, and he implies that he's going to try to sue her or get her in trouble, and he's irate about this. And shockingly, in a huge affront to free speech, because that's what this was. In our country, we're allowed to insult people. She was sued by prosecutors in the area and was found guilty just a few days ago of disorderly conduct. She was fined some $1,000, put on probation for a period of time, and told to do a quantity of community service. And remember, this is not Shiloh approaching this black man out of nowhere and just calling him the N-word, because that could be construed as harassment or disorderly conduct. This is the middle of a confrontation that the black man initiated with her, following her around with the camera, and he's urging her to say the word, which he himself is repeating. And as she repeats it, that's what they got her on. Because they did not, by the way, find her guilty for anything she ever said to the child. That was not found to be disorderly conduct. They got her for her confrontation with this Somalian sex offender. How on earth do prosecutors in Minnesota manage to get on the wrong side of this issue? You have a white woman who's minding her own business, taking her child to a public park, a place which should be free of feral kleptomaniacs and Somalian sex offenders, but it's not. And because she chooses to do something about the fact that she's being stolen from, and the fact that she decides to actually talk back to the guy who's confronting her with his camera, now she's in trouble for using the word that this guy probably uses every day, for using the word that he taunted her and told her to say on camera, and for participating in the confrontation which he initiated with her. Now she's in trouble. And the reason why is because she crossed one of the taboos that is held very dear by the dogmas of leftism. Leftism in this country is very much like a religion because it takes the human condition and attempts to explain our relationship to higher powers and our duties and responsibilities and our whole complete picture and identity as humankind on earth within a political ideology. And when you do that, your ideology starts to develop things that make it look like a religion, like blasphemy codes, like deities, like traditions and priestly classes. In the leftist religion, as it exists in our country currently, there are few relics so sacred as the victimhood and the sanctity of black people and their identity. And so, to signal that you are obedient to this leftist religion, what they'll do is they will put taboos over you. They will make you perform certain sacraments, like saying Black Lives Matter or putting the black square in your Instagram page. They'll make you don certain vestments, like maybe a Black Lives Matter shirt if you're a professional football player, just to prove that you're really one with the club. And of course, above all, there is the one blasphemous word which must not be named that no white person may ever utter, but the elevated priestly class of black people, if you will, are permitted to say it. And I believe that this is the way that the left enforces social order, by controlling your language, by controlling the media, and by making sure that no matter what happens, their branding, their message is put on everything, and it permeates the entirety of the world you see and hear. And then it even goes down to the level of the black people are allowed to say the word and you aren't. And it's not that I particularly want to say the word. I don't find that I like to use insults like that in public. But I find it offensive that while when it comes to other coarse language, I am allowed to choose. I can be respectful or disrespectful. And I choose not to use the F-bomb or the S-word, for instance, because I consider it to be a moral mistake. But when it comes to the N-word, it's a question that is evaluated on a totally different plane. We give it a racial enhancement, and we don't treat it like a bad word. We treat it as if you are committing a sin against black people to utter the word that they utter themselves time and time again. Again, I wish people wouldn't use any swear words. So you shouldn't say the N-word any more than you should use the F-bomb. But what I'm saying is, stop giving the left, stop giving black racial grievance the ammunition of a word that's like a nuclear bomb. And don't give them the territory of, yeah, you can control any aspect of our language and drop the hammer on someone's life, career, and livelihood if they cross your taboo. Don't give them a taboo. Treat the N-word like any other swear word, and just don't use it. The hope for a conservative would be that if you hear another bad word like the N-word, you don't have a heart attack because you fear the grievous assault that's been committed against the black people in the area. Because such an assault has not happened. It's a word. And guess what? In this country, we have free speech. People are allowed to use bad words. Sorry. People are allowed to be insulting. People are allowed, according to the Supreme Court, even in a recent judgment, to use words that are in remarkable poor judgment that could cause extreme emotional anguish to someone. As long as it's not libel, as long as it's not slander, as long as it's not obscene, you have that right. And I think it's very important that in this moment, conservative commentators get over their fear of being associated with someone who said the N-word and just take a stand and say, hey, that wasn't very nice what she said. But you know what? It also wasn't very nice to steal her stuff. And I'm not persuaded that it is worse to utter a rude word than it is to steal a person's things. I am not persuaded that it is worse to say a rude word than it is to get in someone's face and taunt them to say the rude word. I'm really not. We really need to be done with this absurdity and stop letting the left set the terms of our language. If you don't want to say the N-word, don't. I know I'm not going to say it. But let's not give them the ammunition by admitting that it's such an atrocity when it is said. They say it all the time. They will recover.